In this lecture, I am going to talk about the Hilbert transform. So, if you recall from your signals and systems course, that you have learnt various transform techniques like the Laplace transform, the Fourier transform, then Z transform, right? Where what we generally do is we will transform from time domain to frequency domain, right? That's what we do. But in the Hilbert transform, it is not so. We are transforming from time domain to another time domain signal. That is the Hilbert transform. Is time domain to another time domain. Okay, so unlike the transforms that we have learned earlier, like Fourier transform and the Laplace transform, okay, it takes you from time domain to frequency domain. This Hilbert transform is slightly different kind. It takes a time domain signal to another time domain signal. So you are not changing the domains. That is the main important point that we should remember in Hilbert transform. So the domain is not changed. Domain is not changed. The reason why I am discussing this before even I am starting with the regular content of the course, regular content of communication system, is that this transform is a very useful transform for representation of certain kind of signals which will be most commonly used, namely representation of band pass signals. So how do you represent band pass signals in terms of your baseband signals? So since we are going to deal with band pass signals quite a lot, it is useful therefore to have this analytical tool available to us in this representation task. So Hilbert transform it is an analytical tool. For representing the band pass signal. So later on we will find that this representation is used in very much very much useful to us and very important applications. In particular, it is used to represent certain kinds of modulation schemes like single sideband modulation, single sideband AM modulation scheme. So that will be one of the major application of this representation. Therefore, Hilbert transform is used to represent band pass signals that we will be frequently using, and the second one is to represent single sideband modulation, single sideband AM modulated signals. Since this application will only come later, in this class we will only discuss what the Hilbert transform is all about, what it is, how it can be used for representing band pass signals in general. That is our main business in this lecture. So to start with, let us consider what does Hilbert transform all about. To start with, let me consider a linear filter or a linear time invariant system. Okay. So the transfer function of a linear filter is something like this. The transfer function is denoted by h of f, capital H of f is equal to minus j times signum of f, sgn of f, signum. I think you are familiar with this function, okay, signum of f. Like signum of f has 1 if f is greater than 0 and minus 1 if f is less than 0. So this is called a signum function. If you draw, then it looks like this. This is minus 1 and this is plus 1. This is signum of f and this is the frequency axis. Similarly, you can define in the time domain also. signum of t is equal to 1 if t is greater than 0, and it is minus 1 if f is less than 0 and it is 0 if f equal to 0. Why? You take the average at exactly this point is f equal to 0, so this is minus 1 and this is plus 1. In some sense, if you take average, 1 plus minus 1 by 2, which is 0, so it's average. In fact, some people will say it is undefined. Okay, so here we will define the value at f equal to 0 to be 0 itself. That 0, how do you get it? By taking the mean value between the two extreme values. Here the extreme value is plus 1 and here the extreme value is minus 1. Take the two extreme value and take the mean of that. That is signum function. Now you multiply the signum function by h of h. Then this looks like this. So this is going to be j and this is minus j and this is j times h of f, signum function, and this is your frequency axis f. Now next step, what you do, you multiply by minus 1. Ultimately we need minus j times h of f. So this is frequency, and then what happens, this positive becomes negative. And this becomes in the positive side it becomes minus, and in the negative side it becomes plus. So this is plus j and this is minus j. Okay, and this function is called minus j times h of f, that is signum of f. Okay, so this is a transfer function of minus j times signum of f. Now this is the mathematical picture of the filter. Now can you tell me what will this filter actually do to an input signal? How will it affect the input signal? Can you say something about the effect that such a filter will have on any input that is supplied? There is going to be a phase shift of minus pi by 2 for every frequency in the input signal. So this filter will phase shift every frequency component present in the signal by a value of minus pi by 2. So that's what the Hilbert transform does. Now what about the magnitude response? It is equal to 1, because if you take magnitude, then it is going to be 1 for all frequency. Therefore the magnitude of h of f is equal to 1 for all frequency f. And the phase angle is going to be h of f is equal to minus pi by 2 when the frequency is greater than 0, and plus pi by 2 if the frequency is less than 0. So simply phase shifts of frequency component of the input by minus pi by 2 radians. So that's what the Hilbert transform is. Okay, it is a filter actually. Okay, it is not actually transform, it is a filter, but unfortunately in the literature it went like a transform. In fact, we should call by Hilbert filter. So it carries out a constant phase shift of minus pi by 2 radians for every frequency component that is present in the input signal, irrespective of the frequency, whether it is 1 Hertz or 1 megahertz or 1 gigahertz, but it produces constant phase shift. Okay, so and again you may ask a question, what is this positive and negative? Because when you take a real signals, it has both positive frequency as well as a negative frequency. Positive frequency, it has physical meaning, and the negative frequency, it doesn't have any meaning. Then why do we need this negative frequency? It's only mathematical representation, because in the complex exponential it always occurs in pairs. For example, if you take cos omega naught t, it is a real signal, right? Like this it goes t. Now if you break this real signal in terms of complex exponentials, you have e to the j omega naught t plus e to the minus j omega naught t by 2. Now look at here you have one component where the exponent is positive and here you have negative. So this plus and minus always occurs. So it will not occur alone. So you cannot generate e to the minus j omega naught t alone or e to the plus j omega naught t alone. So it always occurs in pairs. Therefore, whenever you take a real signal and convert into complex exponentials or take Fourier transform or analyze in the frequency domain, it always comes in terms of pair. One is positive and another is negative. Therefore, when I say positive frequencies, then it has meaning. Okay, it has physical meaning. When I say negative, there is no physical meaning for that, but it is simply a mathematical notation, that's all. Okay, because in mathematical form, it will not occur alone, positive exponential alone will not come. Okay, so that's it. So therefore, for real signals, we will have both positive frequency as well as negative frequency. Positive frequency means number of cycles per second, we have all physical interpretations. But for negative frequency, there is no physical interpretation, only mathematical representation, that's it. Without that, you cannot come back to original real signal. That's the purpose we are using this one. So when it gets phase shifted, the positive frequency component will get shifted to the minus pi by 2 and the negative frequency component will get shifted by plus pi by 2. For example, if it is a cosine wave, as I said, it will become like a cos of omega t. If you take Hilbert transform, then the frequency component will be shifted by minus pi by 2. Okay, so in the positive frequencies, it will become e to the minus j pi by 2. In the negative frequency, it will become e to the j pi by 2. Okay, so let's say cos of omega naught t minus pi by 2. This is e to the j omega naught t minus pi by 2 plus e to the minus j omega naught t minus pi by 2 whole divided by 2. And this is positive frequency and this one is negative frequency. Okay, so the real phase shift is minus pi by 2, but that is only a mathematical effect. Okay, so whenever you have negative component, that is only mathematical concept. It doesn't have any physical interpretation. Please remember that. So whenever I am talking about negative frequency, don't think something else. Mathematical concept, that's it. Without that, see, without this part, you cannot come back to cos omega t. That's it. Okay. So negative frequency components are always present in a real valued signal. Okay, so whenever you have real valued signal, the negative frequency component presents. So that is something that purely mathematical property. Let me write out properly, because this is sometimes keep on bothers you. It is purely mathematical concept. Even if you take a quadratic equation, let's say x square plus 3x plus 4, or let me take 5. Now what is the root for this? A equal to 1, b equal to 3 and c equal to 5. So the roots are x equal to minus b minus 3 plus or minus square root of b square 9 minus 4ac 20 divided by 2a 2. So minus 3 plus or minus root of 11 minus 11 becomes j times 11 divided by 2. Look at here, again I am getting complex number minus 3 plus j into root of 11 minus 3 minus j into root of 11 by 2. Now this complex number will not come alone. See here, this is my real equation, the coefficients are real. Here 1 is real and 3 is real and what is this? 5. This 5 is real. This is real and this also real. All the coefficients are real. But if you find the solution, you are getting a complex number, and that complex number will not come, only one number will not come. It will always come, it will always come with a pair actually. So it is a pair, it is called complex conjugate pair. One is plus and another one is minus. Therefore the complex numbers always occurs in pair for any real signal, for any real equations. Okay, here these coefficients are real, therefore you are getting complex number like this. Similarly, if you take cos omega naught t, it is a real signal. Why is it real signal? Because you can generate the signal in the lab, right? So like this. Therefore it is a real signal. If you decompose a real signal, then you will get two complex exponentials, and that complex exponentials are like conjugate pairs. So therefore the negative frequency is purely mathematical concept. So don't confuse with don't give any physical interpretation for that. It doesn't have any physical interpretation at all. That point you should keep it very clearly. Now let us look at the same operation in different way. Okay, we know that the output of any filter is a convolution of an input signal and the impulse response. See, the filter is a system, right? And the input is x of t and the output is y of t. The y of t is equal to convolution of the input with the impulse response of the filter h of t. Okay, so we want to understand what the nature of the output signal is. Okay, we have said something about it, but we like to say something more about it, right? So what we said about the Hilbert transform is that every frequency component gets phase shifted by minus pi by 2 radians. Now, can you express the waveform y of t in this case in terms of x of t? See, in the frequency domain, I can say all frequency components are shifted by minus pi by 2. How can I say it in the time domain? That's what I need to find out. Frequency domain, absolutely no problem. There is a phase shift of minus pi by 2 radians for all frequencies. Therefore, that is the next question that we would like to address is, what is the actual output waveform for a given waveform x of t? What is this? How does it is going to be in the time domain? Now we know how to find that. In our review of signals and systems in the previous lectures, we learnt that the output is the convolution of the input signal and the impulse response. Now the question arises, what is the h of t for this filter? We need to find what is the h of t so that I will get a phase shift of plus pi by 2 for all frequencies. Okay, now if I know h of t, then I can do the convolution and I can then I am able to find out y of t. Therefore, I need to find out what is h of t for this Hilbert transform filter. Okay, now let us do a small exercise for this. This is a simple exercise in Fourier transform. Okay, so you may prove this, but let me directly state this property, like signum of f. If you take inverse Fourier transform, then it is going to be j by pi by t. So you can work on it. This one actually you can prove this. You prove this on your own, and it is Fourier transform pair actually. J by pi by t becomes signum of f. Okay, maybe I'll skip this, so you can prove on your own. Then signum of f is equal to j by pi by t in the time domain. Then signum of f by j is equal to 1 by pi t. The j comes to the numerator, then minus j times signum of f is equal to 1 by pi by t. Now we have this result. Now what do we understand from this? What is the physical interpretation of this equation? Right. So what is the inverse Fourier transform of minus j times signum of f? It is 1 over pi by t. Okay, that is the impulse response. Inverse Fourier transform of a system function. See, this is a system function. Minus j times signum of f is the system function. Now inverse Fourier transform of system function is the impulse response. If you take inverse Fourier transform, you will get h of t. Therefore, in the time domain, h of t is equal to 1 by pi by t for the Hilbert transform filter. Hilbert transform. Therefore, h of t is equal to inverse Fourier transform of h of f, and that is inverse Fourier transform of minus j times signum of f, and this you can prove through using your Fourier transform and properties. It is going to be 1 by pi t. So this is my h of t. So therefore y of t is equal to x of t convolved with the h of t. Okay. Now what is in compact notation people will write this as like x hat of t. Okay. So incidentally, instead of calling it a general signal y of t, this whole thing is called x hat of t. That x hat of t indicates the Hilbert transform of the signal x of t. This is a special notation that reserved for Hilbert transform. Hilbert transform. So therefore, instead of calling y of t, let me call x hat of t. X hat of t equal to x of t convolved with h of t. What is h of t? H of t is 1 over pi t. Now you know the convolution integral formula. So this pi is you can write x of tau times t minus tau, that is 1 by pi of t minus tau and d tau. Since the pi is constant, you can take it out of the integration, then it becomes 1 over pi integral of x of tau divided by 1 t minus tau times d tau. So this is your Hilbert transform x hat of t or x cap of t. The output of this constant pi by 2 phase shift filter is related to x of t through this convolution relation. So you can do the Hilbert transform in two ways. One is purely using this integral. This integral relates the input signal x of t to the Hilbert transform x cap of t. In the second way, every frequency components get phase shifted by minus pi by 2 radians. First method is you can use this convolution integral formula, and the second integral is every frequency component gets phase shifted by minus pi by 2 radians. That means it is delayed. Now one can ask a question, why is it called a linear filter? Because it satisfies the principle of superposition. So all filters that we normally deal with are linear filters. Very rarely we will encounter non-linear filters. So the superposition integral is nothing but the convolution integral. The convolution integral is basically coming out of the linearity of the filter, because the convolution integral formula itself is derived from the principle of superposition. Without superposition principle, you cannot derive the convolution integral. Therefore, the filter is called a linear filter. Only for linear time invariant systems, I mean linear systems only, linear and time invariant systems only, we can apply this convolution integral formula. So the convolution integral in fact is derived from the property of linearity and time invariance. So any filter which is satisfied by transfer function or by its impulse response, we are implicitly assuming it to be a linear filter. Superposition of integral is nothing but the superposition of convolution integral. So therefore the convolution integral is basically coming out of the linearity of the filter. Okay, now as I said, this h of f is a complex quantity, right? Why is it complex? Because minus j times signum of f. Okay, so in general for any complex valued function, complex valued function, you will have to make two plots. One is magnitude plot and the another one is phase plot. If it is a real signal, there is no phase. Only complex signals or complex numbers has phase. After all, if we have, let's say, z equal to a plus ib, then magnitude we know which is equal to square root of a square plus b square, and then the phase equal to tan inverse of b by a. Now, if there is no imaginary part, then what is the phase? Theta is equal to tan inverse of 0 by a. Tan inverse of 0, tan inverse of 0 is again 0, there is no phase. I mean the phase is 0 for all, frequency content in the frequency domain. Therefore, the phase plot comes only for complex valued function, not for real valued function. Okay, so the same thing we can do here also, because h of f is complex. So minus j times signum of f is like this. For positive frequency, you have the phase shift of minus pi by 2. For negative frequencies, you have the phase shift of plus pi by 2. This is frequency. If you take magnitude, then the magnitude is constant for all frequencies. The magnitude is 1. That means this filter is not attenuating your signal. It is simply passing the signal as it is without any disturbance at the amplitude. But it introduces only the phase shift. Okay, so it provides minus pi by 2 for positive frequencies, and plus pi by 2 for negative frequencies. As I said, negative frequencies are simply purely mathematical concept. There is no physical meaning for that. Please don't give any physical interpretation for negative frequencies. So in this way also one can describe the Hilbert transform. Okay, so I think let me stop at this point. In the next lecture, I will talk about properties of Hilbert transform. So what are the properties does it have? What are the properties do it have? Okay, so that we will see in the next lecture. So at this point, let me stop. Thank you very much.